Dreaming of Norway? I get it. The fjords, Oslo's modern city life, and a society that seems to have it all. It's a powerful vision. But glossy images don't show the paperwork, costs, or cultural hurdles. Moving isn't just a change of scenery. It's a whole new way of being. This is my honest story, to help you navigate your own journey with eyes wide open. Moving to Norway isn't just reindeer and waffles. The reality, endless paperwork, a tough housing market, and a cost of living that shocks even prepared Canadians. Social life is quieter, and making friends takes time. But once you do, the connections run deep. I'll share my journey, the surprises, and what I wish I'd known before moving here. Stick around. This isn't just a story, it's a roadmap for moving from Canada to Norway. We'll explore why I left Toronto, the visa process, and what it's really like to live and work in Norway. From work culture and housing to culture shock, I'll share practical tips and honest experiences. Let's begin this journey together. Why Norway? Friends and family in Canada asked me this often. Life in Toronto was fast-paced, long commutes, high costs, and constant pressure. I craved more time for nature, hobbies, and simply being present. Norway's work-life balance stood out, a culture valuing well-being over endless hustle. It wasn't about escaping Canada, but running toward a new way of living. Norway's deep connection to nature drew me in. Here, the outdoors isn't just scenery, it's a way of life, woven into daily routines for health and community. Norway's universal healthcare and strong social safety net offer peace of mind and equality. It's this balance, nature, community, and well-being that makes Norway feel like home. Norway is one of the most expensive countries in the world. The sticker shock is real. Groceries, coffee, even rent can cost double what I paid in Toronto. But those high prices fund world-class public services, pristine infrastructure, free education, and healthcare. The money you spend is invested back into the community, making life here feel like an investment in quality, not just an expense. Here's where the dream meets the reality of Norwegian bureaucracy. If you want to stay in Norway beyond 90 days, you'll need a residence permit, managed by the UDI. The UDI website is your single source of truth. Read everything carefully. There are no shortcuts, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Stay organized, follow every requirement, and you'll get there. My journey to Norway began with a job offer from a tech company in Oslo, making me eligible for the skilled worker visa. The key requirement? A concrete job offer from a Norwegian employer with full-time hours and legal salary. You'll also need proof of housing, often a challenge from abroad. My employer helped with a letter for temporary accommodation, which satisfied the authorities. Start early, gather every document, and be proactive. The process is a race against the clock. After submitting your application, the waiting game begins. It's a nerve-wracking time, but you can channel that anxious energy productively. Use this period to prepare for your move. Pack, declutter, and organize. Start learning Norwegian and plan your finances. This way you'll be ready for your new life when the wait is finally over. After submitting your application online, the next step is booking an in-person appointment at a VFS Global Center in Canada. There, you'll provide your documents, fingerprints, and photo. No interview, just formalities. Walking out, relief and anxiety mix as your application joins the queue. Months later, the approval email arrives, pure euphoria. In Norway, register with the police for your residence card. Your new life begins. Working in Norway is a universe apart from Canada's corporate culture. The workday ends at 4 p.m., and everyone leaves, from the newest hire to the CEO. My first day in Oslo, I stayed late, only to find the office empty. My manager was concerned, not impressed, by my late hours. Efficiency, not endurance, is valued. Staying late signals poor time management. The work week is 37.5 hours with strict overtime regulations. This allows for a life beyond work, time for family, exercise, and relaxation. Initially jarring, this shift reduced my stress and increased my productivity. A shorter workday doesn't mean less gets done. It means time is respected. The Norwegian work culture taught me to value life outside the office. Norway's work-life balance shines in its approach to vacation. Employees get at least 25 vacation days, often more. The Fellesferie in July sees the country pause, with minimal work expectations. This break fosters a mindset where work funds life, not the other way around. In Norway, personal identity isn't tied to career achievements. People ask about your weekend, not your job title. I've learned to plan my year around time off, exploring Norway and visiting family. This respect for personal time leads to a happier, more balanced life. It's a lesson in valuing life beyond work that other cultures could embrace. The Norwegian approach to vacation is a cornerstone of societal well-being. Understanding a Norwegian workplace means grasping janteloven, the law of jante. It emphasizes modesty, equality, and humility, shaping office dynamics. Success is a team effort. Individual achievements are downplayed. Decisions are made by consensus, valuing every opinion. My initial approach of self-promotion was seen as boastful. In Norway, success is a we achievement, not an I moment. Bosses are approachable, often working alongside their teams. This culture requires self-motivation and initiative. Navigating this environment means listening more and valuing the team. True confidence in Norway is quiet and collaborative. Finding housing in Oslo was as challenging as the visa process. The market is fast-paced, competitive, and expensive. Finn.no is the go-to platform for rental listings. Each neighborhood has its own character, adding complexity to the search. High rental prices forced me to adjust my expectations. I learned to be proactive, with a plan and a prepared introduction. The demand far exceeds supply, making quick action essential. The housing hunt was a crash course in Norwegian city life. It required focus, energy, and a bit of luck. Ultimately, it was a humbling yet rewarding experience. The real race begins with attending or open house. These short viewings are competitive, requiring quick decisions. The security deposit is 3 months' rent, a significant upfront cost. Speed is crucial. Landlords decide quickly, often within a day. I lost out on places by hesitating, learning to act fast. Treating the search like a job, I set alerts and prepared documents. I expressed interest immediately and was ready to sign contracts. My successful strategy involved persistence and organization. The Oslo rental market demands readiness and decisiveness. Finding my apartment was a whirlwind but ultimately rewarding. In Norway, unfurnished means just that. You're renting the walls, floor, and ceiling. No lights, no appliances, not even a wardrobe. Tenants must bring and install their own light fixtures and often even major appliances. This adds cost and hassle, so always check listings carefully to avoid surprises when moving in. After surviving Oslo's rental market, you're finally ready to stock your new fridge. But nothing prepares you for the sticker shock at the grocery store. Basics like bread, eggs, and cheese suddenly feel like luxury items as the total climbs. You quickly learn to hunt for sales, adapt your habits, and embrace home-cooked meals. It's a lesson in value and a rite of passage for life in Norway. Eating and drinking out in Norway is shockingly expensive. Think $15 to $20 for a pint of beer, or a simple meal that feels unjustifiable for a regular Tuesday. So, social life here shifts from bars and cafes to cozy home gatherings. It's more affordable, more intimate, and leads to deeper connections, Norwegian style. Norway's high prices are balanced by higher wages and a compressed wage gap, making life affordable for most. Taxes fund world-class public services, transport, parks, childcare, and healthcare visible in daily life. You trade a lower cost of living for a higher standard of living and peace of mind in a society that cares. Moving to Norway brought a culture shock I never expected. As a Canadian, I was used to casual friendliness, smiles, small talk, and apologies. In Norway, public spaces are quiet, with people keeping to themselves and valuing personal space. But over time, I learned Norwegians are warm and loyal. Friendships just take time to grow. In Norway, Sundays are truly still. Shops close, streets empty, and life slows down. Unlike Canada, where Sunday is for errands, here it's a day for family, nature, and rest. Another quirk: always remove your shoes at the door. These small customs taught me to pause, plan, and embrace a quieter, more mindful life. One of the most common questions I get is whether you need to learn Norwegian to live in Norway. The simple answer is no, you don't have to. The proficiency in English here is absolutely incredible. Nearly everyone, from young children to seniors, speaks English to an exceptionally high level. You can navigate almost every aspect of daily life, from opening a bank account to ordering in a restaurant to discussing complex topics with colleagues using only English. This makes the initial transition much easier and, honestly, a lot less intimidating, as the language barrier that can be a huge obstacle in other countries is virtually non-existent in Norway, especially in the cities. However, just because you can get by with English does not mean you should. Choosing not to learn Norwegian puts a subtle but significant wall between you and the culture you are trying to be a part of. While Norwegians are happy to switch to English to accommodate you, conversations between Norwegians will of course happen in Norwegian. If you are in a group, they will politely switch for your benefit, but you can become a conversation stopper, the person for whom everyone else has to adjust. This can make it difficult to fully integrate into social circles and to understand the nuances of jokes, cultural references, and casual banter that make up so much of daily life. Learning the language, even to a basic level, is a sign of respect. It shows that you are invested in your new home, that you are making an effort to be a part of the society, not just a guest within it. I started my journey with apps like Duolingo before I even arrived, and upon moving to Oslo, I enrolled in a formal Norskkurs or Norwegian class. Attending these classes was not only essential for my language skills, but it was also an incredible way to meet other newcomers who were on the same journey. We practiced together, shared our frustrations and successes, and formed a small community of our own. While I am still far from fluent, the effort has been rewarded 1,000 times over. The moment you can manage a simple transaction at the store, understand a headline in the newspaper, or catch the punchline of a joke in Norwegian is a moment of pure triumph. It opens doors that would otherwise remain closed. It allows you to connect with people on a deeper level and to see the country through a new lens. So, while you don't have to learn Norwegian to survive here, I believe you do have to learn it to truly thrive. It is the key that unlocks the final door to feeling like you truly belong. Looking back on this entire whirlwind journey, from the initial seed of an idea in my Toronto apartment to writing this from my cozy home in Oslo, it feels like a lifetime has passed. This process was so much more than a simple geographical relocation. It was a complete deconstruction and rebuilding of my life, my priorities, and my understanding of what it means to live well. Each step, the bureaucratic marathon with the UDI, the frantic housing search, the sticker shock at the grocery store, and the quiet navigation of a new culture, was a profound lesson in resilience, patience, and adaptation. It has been the hardest and most rewarding thing I have ever done. This move stripped away the familiar comforts and securities of my life in Canada, forcing me to build a new foundation from scratch. In doing so, it revealed strengths I never knew I possessed. The ability to meticulously organize a mountain of paperwork, the courage to attend a housing viewing with 20 other hopefuls, and the humility to learn a new language as an adult are all skills forged in the fire of this experience. It has taught me that I am far more capable and independent than I ever gave myself credit for. This journey has not just changed my address, it has fundamentally changed my character for the better. The story I have shared is deeply personal, filled with my own specific challenges and triumphs. However, I believe the core emotions are universal to anyone who has ever dared to make a major life change. There were moments of overwhelming doubt where I questioned everything, moments of intense loneliness where the cultural gap felt like a chasm, and moments of pure, unadulterated joy when a small victory, like successfully ordering coffee in Norwegian, felt like conquering Mount Everest. This emotional roller coaster is an inescapable part of the expatriate experience, a shared thread that connects us all, no matter where we come from or where we are going. Ultimately, moving to Norway has been an education in perspective. It has allowed me to see my own culture, my own country, and my own values through an entirely new lens. It has highlighted the strengths of the Canadian way of life that I once took for granted, while also exposing me to a different, equally valid philosophy of living. This experience has broadened my worldview in a way that no book or documentary ever could. It has been a real-life, immersive course in global citizenship, teaching me that there are many different paths to a happy and fulfilling life, and the Norwegian way is just one beautiful example. If I had the chance to go back and start this entire process over again, knowing what I know now, there are a few key things I would do differently. First and foremost, I would have started learning the Norwegian language much more seriously and much earlier. While I dabbled with apps, I underestimated how much of a difference a solid conversational foundation would have made in my initial months. Being able to understand casual conversations and express myself more clearly from day one would have significantly eased the sense of isolation and accelerated my integration. My advice to you is simple. Treat language learning as a critical part of your pre-move preparation, not an afterthought. Secondly, I would have created a far more detailed and realistic budget for the first 3 months. I planned for the high rent and the 3-month deposit, but I did not fully account for the unfurnished reality and the cost of setting up a household from scratch. The cumulative expense of buying everything from light fixtures and kitchen appliances to furniture and basic supplies was a significant financial strain that I could have mitigated with better planning. I would advise anyone making the move to create a separate settling-in fund that goes beyond just the rent and deposit to cover these numerous and often unexpected initial costs. Another thing I would change is my own mindset during the first few months of navigating the culture shock. I spent too much time interpreting the Norwegian reserve as a personal slight, feeling frustrated by the quiet trains and the lack of small talk. I wish I could tell my past self to be more patient and observant, to understand that this wasn't a rejection, but simply a different cultural frequency. I would advise future movers to approach the culture with a sense of deep curiosity rather than judgment. Try to understand the why behind the social norms instead of just comparing them to what you are used to back home. Finally, I would have done more to connect with other expatriates and newcomers online before I even moved. There are numerous forums and social media groups for people moving to Norway, and they are an invaluable source of real-time advice and support. While I eventually found these communities, tapping into that collective wisdom earlier would have saved me from reinventing the wheel on several occasions. Don't underestimate the power of shared experience. Hearing from others who are a few steps ahead of you in the process can provide not only practical tips but also the crucial emotional reassurance that you are not alone in your struggles. So after all the shocks, the challenges, and the step-by-step struggles, we come back to the original question: was it worth it? For me, the answer is an unequivocal, resounding yes. Moving to Norway has been the most transformative experience of my life. It has challenged me, humbled me, and ultimately, it has made me happier. The real Norwegian dream I've discovered is not the postcard fantasy of majestic fjords and constant bliss. It is something far more real and far more valuable. It is the quiet contentment that comes from a life lived in balance. The true value of living here is not measured in the dramatic landscapes, but in the small, everyday moments. It is leaving work at 4 o'clock with the sun still shining, knowing you have a whole evening ahead of you to live your life. It is the feeling of safety and trust that permeates the society. It is the joy of spending a Sunday hiking in the forest, completely disconnected from the demands of the world. It is the peace of mind that comes from knowing you are part of a society that genuinely tries to take care of its own. These are the things that make the high cost of living and the cultural adjustments a price I am more than willing to pay. If you are thinking of moving to Norway from Canada, my final piece of advice is this: go in with your eyes wide open. Do your research, save your money, and be prepared for a process that will test your patience and resolve. Understand that you are not just moving to Canada with better scenery. You are moving to a distinct and complex culture with its own rules, rhythms, and social codes. Be prepared to be humbled, to learn, and to adapt in ways you never expected. The journey will likely be harder than you imagine, but the rewards can be greater than you dream. This has been my story, my personal step-by-step guide through the beautiful and bewildering process of making a new home in Norway. It is a country that doesn't reveal its charms all at once. It asks for your patience, your effort, and your willingness to understand. But if you give it those things, it will reward you with a quality of life that is truly exceptional. The journey is shocking, it is challenging, but for me, it has led to a life that is richer, calmer, and more authentic. And that is a dream that has been worth every step to make a reality.